3. True 7-Eleven Horror Stories. Story 1. The Night Shift. Part 1. My name is Deshawn, and I was 22 years old when this happened. I worked the overnight shift at a 7-Eleven in rural Texas, about 40 miles outside of San Antonio. It was a Tuesday night, 2:45 a.m., and the store had been empty for over an hour. I was restocking the cooler when I heard the back door open, the door that was supposed to be locked from the outside. I stopped moving and listened. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps coming down the storage hallway toward me. Subscribe now and leave a comment below, because what came through that door almost killed me. Part 2. The 7-Eleven where I worked was on a quiet stretch of highway between two small towns. During the day, we served truckers, travelers, and locals grabbing snacks and gas. At night, things were different. Between midnight and 5 a.m., we might see a handful of customers. Sometimes, none at all. The overnight shift was just me alone in a fluorescent lit box in the middle of nowhere. I had been working there for about 8 months. The job was simple. Ring up purchases, restock shelves, clean the floors, make coffee. As long as nothing went wrong, the shift was easy money. That Tuesday had been dead. By 1 a.m., the last customer had left. By 2, I had finished my required tasks and was restocking the beer cooler to pass the time. The cooler was at the back of the store, behind the aisles of snacks and supplies. When I heard the back door open, I was inside the cooler, arranging cases of Bud Light on the shelves. I froze my hand, still gripping a case of beer. The back door was supposed to be locked from the outside. Only employees with keys could open it. But I was the only employee on shift. Part 3. I set down the case of beer, slowly trying not to make noise. The footsteps continued down the hallway, slow, patient, moving toward the main store area. I crouched behind the stacks of beer cases, watching the cooler door. Through the glass I could see the store, the aisles, the counter, the front windows, and I could see a figure emerge from the back hallway. A man. Maybe 40, wearing dark clothes and a baseball cap pulled low over his face. He was carrying something in his hand, something metal. A crowbar. Part 4. He walked to the front counter and looked around. "I know you are here," he said. His voice was calm, conversational. "The car outside is yours. You did not leave." I pressed myself against the cold metal shelving, my heart pounding. "Come out and this will be easy. I just want the money. Give me what is in the register and the safe, and I will leave." I did not move. I barely breathed. He walked around the counter and pressed buttons on the register. It beeped, but did not open. "You need to open this. Where are you?" He started walking down the aisles, checking between the shelves. I pulled out my phone, my hands shaking, and dialed 911. 911, what is your emergency? I whispered as quietly as I could. "There is a man in my store. 7-Eleven on Highway 90. He broke in through the back. He has a weapon. Officers are being dispatched. Stay hidden if possible." The man's footsteps were getting closer to the cooler. Part 5. The cooler door had a small window. If he looked through it, he would see me. I moved deeper into the cooler behind a tall stack of cases that blocked the view from the door. The footsteps stopped, right outside. Through a gap between the cases, I could see him standing at the cooler door. He was looking through the window, scanning the interior. I held my breath. He reached for the door handle. The front door chimed. Someone else was entering the store. The man turned away from the cooler and walked quickly toward the front. Part 6. I heard voices. The man speaking to whoever had entered. "Sorry, store is closed. Technical difficulties. You need to leave. The sign says open 24 hours. A woman's voice, confused. "I said leave. Now." Okay, I am going." I heard the front door chime again. The woman was leaving. But she had seen him. She had heard the edge in his voice. I prayed she would call the police. The man walked back toward the cooler. "That was your chance to be a hero. Call out to her, make noise. But you did not. Smart. But now I am angry." He pulled open the cooler door. Part 7. I grabbed a case of beer and threw it at him as hard as I could. It caught him in the chest bottle, shattering beer, spraying everywhere. He stumbled backward, slipping on the wet floor. I ran past him, vaulting over his sprawled body, sprinting toward the front of the store. He grabbed my ankle. I went down hard, my chin hitting the tile. He was on top of me, the crowbar raised. The front door burst open. Police, 2 officers' weapons drawn. "Drop it now." The man hesitated for a second. Then he dropped the crowbar and raised his hands. Part 8. His name was Vernon Dale Hutchins, 43 years old, with a history of robbery charges across 3 states. He had been targeting isolated convenience stores for years. Always the overnight shift. Always stores with a single employee. Some of his previous victims had been hurt badly. One had died. The woman who entered the store had called the police as soon as she got back to her car. She had sensed something was wrong. Her call had brought the officers just in time. Vernon Hutchins was convicted of armed robbery and assault. He is serving 20 years in federal prison. I quit my job at 7-Eleven the week after they arrested him. I could not work overnight shifts anymore. Every sound made me jump. Every time the back door opened, I froze. The company changed their policies after what happened. Better locks on the back doors, panic buttons that connect directly to police dispatch, cameras that cover every angle. But none of that erases what almost happened. I was alone in that store with a man who had killed before. The only things that saved me were a customer who sensed danger and officers who arrived in time. If you work alone at night, please be careful. Check the locks. Know where the exits are. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong, because predators target people who work alone, and they count on no one being there to help. Story 2. The Customer Part 1. My name is Jasmine, and I was 24 years old when this happened. I stopped at a 7-Eleven in suburban Phoenix, Arizona around 9:30 p.m. on a Friday night. I needed gas and a snack before heading home from a long day at work. The store was busy with the usual evening crowd. I paid for my items and walked back to my car. That is when I noticed the man. He was standing near the air pump watching me. When I got in my car and pulled away, his headlights appeared in my rearview mirror. Subscribe now and leave a comment, because that man followed me for the next 15 miles. Part 2. The 7-Eleven was on my regular route home, a convenient stop I made 2 or 3 times a week. Gas coffee, sometimes a snack. A 5-minute detour that had become part of my routine. That Friday had been exhausting. A difficult project at work, a stressful meeting, the kind of day that left me mentally drained. I was looking forward to getting home, taking a shower, and collapsing on my couch. I pulled into the 7-Eleven around 9:30. The parking lot was moderately busy, maybe 8 or 9 cars. I pumped my gas, then went inside for a bottle of water and some chips. The store was crowded. A line at the register, people browsing the aisles. I did not pay attention to anyone in particular. I made my purchase and walked back to my car. That is when I noticed him. A man was standing near the air pump at the edge of the lot. He was not using it. He was not checking his tires. He was watching me. Part 3. I got in my car, quickly locking the doors before starting the engine. I looked at the man through my window. He was maybe 40 with a thin face and eyes that seemed to catch the light from the overhead lamps. He was still watching me. I pulled out of the parking lot and onto the main road. A few seconds later, headlights appeared behind me. I told myself it was coincidence. Lots of people were leaving the 7-Eleven. We were all taking the same road. I turned onto a side street, taking a slightly longer route home. The headlights turned too. Part 4. My heart started beating faster. I made another turn, then another weaving through residential streets that had no reason to be on anyone's route. The headlights stayed with me. I pulled out my phone and called my roommate. "Hey, I think someone is following me. I am a few minutes from home, but I do not want to lead them to our apartment." "Are you sure? I have made like 6 random turns. They are still behind me. Do not come home. Drive to the police station." She was right. The police station was about 10 minutes away. I changed direction, heading toward downtown. The headlights followed. Part 5. I drove faster, weaving through traffic, trying to put distance between us. The headlights kept pace. I called 911. 911, what is your emergency? "Someone is following me. I left a 7-Eleven on Camelback Road about 15 minutes ago. A man was watching me in the parking lot, and now he is following my car." "Can you describe the vehicle? Dark sedan, maybe a Honda or Toyota. I cannot see the license plate." "Where are you now?" "Heading toward the downtown police station." "Good. Keep driving there. Do not stop. Officers will be waiting for you." Part 6. I drove straight to the police station, pulled into the parking lot, and ran inside. The headlights that had been following me slowed as they passed the station, then sped away. Officers took my statement. They pulled security footage from the 7-Eleven. The footage showed him watching me from the moment I arrived. He had been parked near the air pump when I pulled in. He waited while I pumped gas. He watched me walk into the store. When I came out, he was still watching. The footage showed his license plate clearly. Part 7. His name was Harold Eugene Patterson, 46 years old. He had a history of stalking charges in 3 states. When they searched his car, they found photographs of multiple women, pictures taken at gas stations, parking lots and stores. Some of the photographs included license plate numbers and addresses. He had been following women from public places, documenting them, building files. Some of the women in his photographs matched missing person reports. Harold Patterson was arrested on stalking charges. The investigation into the missing women is ongoing. He is currently awaiting trial, held without bail. Part 8. I think about that night constantly. The man watching me at the air pump. The headlights in my rear view mirror. The 15 minutes of terror as he followed me through the streets. If I had gone straight home, if I had not called my roommate, if I had not driven to the police station. He would have known where I lived. He would have added my address to his collection, and I might have become another photograph in his file. I do not stop at that 7-Eleven anymore. I vary my routes home. I check my mirrors constantly. I never dismiss the feeling of being watched. If you ever notice someone watching you in a parking lot, trust your instincts. If you see the same headlights behind you for too long, do not go home. Drive to a police station. Call for help. Because sometimes the person at the gas station is not just filling up. Sometimes they are choosing their next target. Story 3. The Parking Lot. Part 1. My name is Marcos, and I was 28 years old when this happened. I stopped at a 7-Eleven in rural Louisiana, about an hour outside of Baton Rouge, during a late-night drive. It was a Saturday night, 11:50 p.m., and the store sat alone on a dark stretch of highway. I went inside for coffee and snacks. When I came out 10 minutes later, a van was parked directly behind my car. The engine was running, and through the windshield I could see 2 figures watching me. The side door was already sliding open. Subscribe now, because what happened in the next 60 seconds almost cost me my life. Part 2. The drive from Houston to New Orleans was supposed to take about 5 hours. I had left late around 7 p.m., hoping to avoid traffic and arrive by midnight. By 11:30, I was tired and needed caffeine. The 7-Eleven appeared like a beacon in the darkness, its bright sign the only light visible for miles. The parking lot was nearly empty when I pulled in. Just one other car, an old pickup truck, parked near the entrance. I parked in the middle of the lot and went inside. The store was quiet. A tired-looking clerk behind the counter, one customer browsing the snack aisle. I grabbed a large coffee and some chips paid and headed back out. That is when I saw the van. It had appeared while I was inside. A white cargo van with no windows on the sides parked directly behind my car. So close I could not back out. The engine was running. I could see exhaust in the cool night air. Part 3. I stopped, walking, my keys in one hand, my coffee in the other. Through the van's windshield, I could see 2 figures. One in the driver's seat, one in the passenger seat. Neither was moving. They were just sitting there, watching me. The side door began to slide open. I dropped my coffee and ran. Part 4. I sprinted back toward the store, not looking behind me. I heard footsteps on the asphalt. Someone was chasing me. The store entrance was maybe 30 feet away. 20. Hey, stop! I did not stop. I burst through the door and nearly knocked over the clerk. Lock the door, call the police. The clerk looked past me through the glass. A man was standing about 15 feet from the entrance, large, wearing dark clothes. He had stopped running when I entered the store. He stood there for a moment, watching us through the glass. Then he turned and walked back toward the van. Part 5. The clerk called 911 while I watched the van through the window. The man got back in. The side door slid closed. The van sat there for another 30 seconds, engine running, both figures visible through the windshield. Then it pulled out of the parking lot and drove away, heading north on the highway. The police arrived within 15 minutes. I gave them my statement. The white van, the 2 figures, the way they had blocked my car. The officer nodded slowly. We have had reports of a similar van along this stretch of highway. White, no windows, 2 occupants. approaches people at rest stops and convenience stores. What do they want? He did not answer directly. You did the right thing running. Part 6. They caught them 2 weeks later. A woman at a gas station about 30 miles from where I had been noticed the same van circling the lot before she parked. She called the police from inside the store. Officers arrived in time to intercept the van as it tried to leave. Their names were Dennis Ray Patterson and Carl Eugene Hobbs, both in their 40s, both with extensive criminal histories. When they searched the van, they found rope tape sedatives and a mattress in the back. They found photographs of people at various locations along the highway taken through the van's windshield. My photograph was in the collection. They had been watching me before I even parked. Part 7. The investigation connected them to 4 disappearances across Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. People who had stopped at isolated gas stations and convenience stores. People traveling alone at night. People who were never seen again. 2 bodies were found on property owned by Carl Hobbs's family. The others have never been recovered. Dennis Patterson and Carl Hobbs were convicted of multiple counts of kidnapping and murder. They are both on death row in Louisiana. Part 8. I think about that night often. The van appearing while I was inside, the side door sliding open, the footsteps behind me as I ran. If he had walked to my car instead of noticing the van. If I had hesitated for even a second. If the store entrance had been a few feet farther away. I would be another missing person, another body buried somewhere in the Louisiana swamps. I do not stop at isolated gas stations anymore. When I travel, I choose busy locations with lots of people. I park near entrances under lights. I check the parking lot before I leave a store. Some people say I am paranoid. They did not see what was in that van. They didn't see the photographs of all the people who were not as lucky as me. If you ever stop at a convenience store and find a van parked too close to your car, especially one that was not there when you arrived, do not approach. Go back inside. Call the police. Because sometimes the van is not there by accident. Sometimes it is waiting for you. The end. If these stories scared you, leave a comment below and tell me which one was the most terrifying. And remember, the next time you stop at a 7-Eleven late at night, pay attention to your surroundings. Watch for people who watch you. Check the parking lot before you approach your car. And never assume you are safe just because you're at a busy convenience store. Because predators hunt where people feel comfortable, and they are counting on you to let your guard down.